So welcome, Nils Eliasson. Thank you very much for joining me for our interview series of HKIC Council members.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. So let me just give a brief background of your career. You are a partner at Shearman & Sterling, Hong Kong. You've been a partner at Shearman & Sterling since 2015. And prior to that, you were a partner at Mannheimer Swartling in the Hong Kong office, but you also worked with Mannheimer for a total of 14 years, both in Hong Kong and in Sweden. And you have a doctorate from the University of Lund in Sweden. You are admitted in Sweden as well as in Hong Kong. You're a frequent publisher both on international commercial arbitration and international investment treaty arbitration. And you currently serve on the Hong Kong Government Advisory Committee on Arbitration. In terms of your career at HKIAC, it has been a long one. You were appointed to the council in 2014, and at the same time you were appointed to the Proceedings Committee of HKIAC, which is essentially the decision-making body that determines all decisions, all procedural decisions under our various rules. You became the chairperson of that committee in 2016 and still serve in that role. Then that really set you up very well, because in 2017 to 2018 you were the chairperson of the Rules Revision Drafting Committee for the 2018 version of the HKIAC rules. And then just in June this year, you've been elected as one of the 3 vice chairpersons of HKIAC, which makes you a member of the executive committee of HKIAC. So we've kept you busy. It's been a long and fruitful contribution. So let me ask you, first of all, you moved to Hong Kong in 2009. What motivated your move to Asia?
Well, I was at that time based in Stockholm, and I had been on and off during the years working with Chinese parties in Chinese arbitrations, primarily seated in Stockholm. And my firm made a decision, my then firm made a decision to set up an arbitration practice in Hong Kong, and I was asked whether I wanted to lead that project. So I accepted that and moved to Hong Kong in 2009 and set up that arbitration practice. And at that point in time, focusing primarily on Chinese state-owned enterprises, which turned out to be a good time in 2009, because the China's Going Global project, which was really an initiative long before the Belt and Road, to encourage and increase Chinese overseas investments, had been launched in '99. And by 2009, we started to see more and more disputes coming out of the Chinese outbound investments, and also a shift in the Chinese companies being more assertive and appearing as claimants in arbitrations, rather than just as respondents that we had seen maybe 20 years ago. And then, as you said, I joined Shearman in 2015 to set up their arbitration practice in Hong Kong and China, and to spearhead Shearman's expansion in Asia on the arbitration side. And here I still am, and still very much enjoy practicing in Hong Kong.
Yeah, wonderful. And so you are a member of one of the most successful firms, international firms in international arbitration. How do you find HKIAC serves your clients?
It's for us, for me and for the firm and our clients, HKIC is extremely important. And this is for Asian clients, for European clients, for US clients, really any multinational client with business operations in Asia. The HKIC is tremendously important, because all these clients require reliable and trustworthy arbitration institutions active in this region. And HKIC, being the longest serving arbitration institution in the region, the oldest and most established in the region, has over the years built up a tremendous reputation as a neutral, reliable, tried and tested arbitration institution, and that multinationals dare to trust their disputes with, and that's incredibly important. And I would say that, you know, in addition to the reliability of the institution, and here a very important aspect of that for our clients is that the HKIC is seen to be a truly international arbitration organization. Even though it is a regional one, it's still an international one in the sense of its decision makers being international from various jurisdictions all over the world to ensure the highest quality of decision making by the institution, high quality appointments of arbitrators, and a very international secretariat. All of these are very important for maintaining the trust in the institution for our multinational clients that are using the services of the HKIC. I think also the efforts that the HKIC has made to ensure that its proceedings are time and cost efficient is also very important in making it a good option for all types of disputes for clients, because the multinationals, even though our clients are multinationals, all of their disputes will not be the largest ones. They will also have a lot of smaller disputes in supply agreements or whatnot, and it's important that an institution is flexible enough and offer rules and procedures that fit both the super complex multi-party, multi-contract disputes, as well as the small standard bread and butter disputes. And I think HKIC has managed very well to strike that balance, and that's very important for our clients. And we have those mechanisms in the rules to ensure that, as well as in the procedures and practices of the Secretariat.
So you've seen HKIC's inner workings, as well as you've seen how HKIC works as an institution from the point of view of the client for many years now. Over the years, how have you seen the demand in HKIC services grow and change?
I would say that I have seen both an increase in the volume of cases as well as a more diverse caseload at the HKIC, and I see that both from the internal perspective, serving in different capacities in the HKIC, and also in my practice as counsel in arbitration cases and as arbitrator. And I think the growth, I mean, we had a tremendous at the HKIC year last year with, I think, 308 cases, and this year already we are ahead of where we were at the same time last year. So you see, even in these COVID difficult times, an increase in the case load that really proves the perception that I also have from my practice and of the growing case load. And I think it comes from both from the fact that, you know, during the last 20 years, and in particular maybe during the last 10 years, many of the Asian economies, not only China, but many of the Asian economies have been growing at a faster pace than European economies and as well as the US. And also important is that the intra-Asia trade and investments are growing. So we have more and more business between the big economies in Asia, and naturally a lot of those cases they're not going to be arbitrated in Europe or anywhere else. The cases are going to stay in Asia. But we also see that the bargaining power of the Asian enterprises are increasing, and they can insist on the seat of arbitration staying in Hong Kong or in Asia more frequently than maybe they could 20 years ago, when we would find Asian parties almost invariably arbitrating in big cases with a seat in Europe. So I see that contributing to the growth of cases, and also the growth of the really big cases. We have seen at the HKIC during the last 5 years an increase in very high value disputes. which is very encouraging and shows really the trust in the institution. And also on the more diverse caseload point, when I started to do HKIC cases, I think on the commercial side, at least there's always been the construction cases from, in particular, local construction cases, but on the commercial arbitration side, a lot of the cases were Sino-foreign joint venture investment, joint venture disputes, and those are still coming, but they are no longer the dominant part. We see a much more diverse caseload of commercial cases with a lot of shareholders agreement, corporate disputes, in particular in relation to private equity investments and private equity structures, often involving offshore elements and quite complex structures, very often high value disputes, and as well as more IP related cases and post M&A, and also more and more of the international construction cases in the international construction projects, and project finance disputes generally. We see, I think HKIC is one of the institutions that have had most banking and finance related arbitrations, which is also a very, very interesting development that is quite unique for Asia as well.
Yeah. One other thing that's unique for HKIC in Asia is that we have administered 2 investment treaty cases. I think we are the only Asian headquartered institution to have done that. What are your views in respect of the future of ISDS in Asia?
It's well, I as many, I think, thought that 10 years ago, if you had asked me, I would have said that I think it's going to be a dominant part of my practice in 10 years' time. It is not. I'm doing more commercial cases than investment treaty cases, but I do also investment treaty cases involving Asian parties, Asian state respondents, and Asian claimants. So it forms part of my practice. It's not as big part as I had expected it to be, as I said 10 years ago. And we have even seen, if you look at statistics, we have seen, if you combine both investor claimants from Asian jurisdictions and Asian cases brought against Asian respondent states, we've actually seen a small decrease in numbers during the last 5 years. If you look at the proportion of Asia-related investment disputes compared to investment disputes related to other parts of the world. But that doesn't mean that the cases are not coming. It's just that there have been more cases in other parts of the world than in Asia, so our relative proportion has decreased. But I think we still see more and more cases in Asia. So I think there is a future for it. There will continue to be cases, but I don't think it's going to form a dominant part of the arbitration market for a large number of practitioners in Asia. But there will be probably continue to be a small group of practitioners like myself who do investment treaty arbitration as part of their practice in Asia.
Right. So you've seen a bit of an evolution over the times in terms of caseload at HKIAC. In terms of looking ahead, what do you think, how do you see HKIAC innovating or amending its services to be relevant and useful to its users?
It's, I mean, it's incredibly important for the users to that the institutions continue to look at what can be improved, and I think that has changed a lot compared to maybe 20 years ago, when it was a lot of things were done at the set format and there was not that much innovation. I think we have seen in the last 10 and 5 years a lot of good innovation, and the HKIC has been at the forefront of that and won several awards for their innovations. And we spent a lot of time on the rules, both the 13 and 18 version of the rules, and I think we now have the rules at a place where we want them to be. They strike a good balance and can be used for a large number of different type of arbitrations, making use of the inherent flexibility of arbitration as a dispute resolution mechanism, which makes it so useful for all types of disputes, really. So now I think with the rules being where we want them to be, we can focus on other issues. And I think one thing, with all areas of life and business becoming very focused on reducing, on becoming more green in the sense of reducing the carbon footprint, I think that is an area where arbitration institutions need to look as well. And I know that the HKIC is doing that, both in the way the Secretariat works, but also with exploring the potentials of doing more and more aspects of cases online. I'm not saying that arbitration hearings should be replaced, in-person hearings should be replaced completely with online hearings, but there are aspects of cases that can be done online, maybe much more easily than people expected before the COVID crisis. So I think COVID has helped to drive innovation when it comes to online resolution of disputes and introducing online elements in case management. And we have the project at the HKIC with a dedicated facility for online hearings, I think is an important part in that innovation. And I think in addition to that, we always need to continue looking at what we can do to make our services suitable and for all types of cases, big and small, so that we don't only offer the services for the large cases, but also remain relevant for cases where the amounts are small, but a reliable institution is still required, and we need to see what we can do to further reduce time and cost for that type of cases.
Right. So my final question, you've been in the role of vice chairperson now for just about 3 months. How do you find it, and how do you see yourself in that role?
I'm very happy to have been elected to that position, and we obviously had it not been for COVID, I would have expected to be more on the road and being an ambassador for the HKIC as one of the vice chairpersons. But instead this is another area where I have been doing what I can online instead and participating in various initiatives that the HKIC has done in online forums. But how I see my role is, to me, serving in this function as well as in the other functions that I have served at the HKIC is really my way to give back to the arbitration community, not only to HKIC, but the arbitration community in Hong Kong broadly. Because this is where I practice and have been based for the last 11 years and are planning to stay for as long as Hong Kong wants me. So what I can do to give back to the community, I will do. So I'm happy to be able to share my experiences and put them to work at the HKIC. And I think that I can bring to the table a combination of having practiced in Europe and in Asia, knowing both regions very well. Being a civil law and a common law lawyer, I can bring that to the table and help ensuring that the HKIC is attuned to the expectations of both Asian practitioners and European practitioners and users from both regions. And I think that I'm continuing to serve as the chairman of the proceedings committee as well. So I think an important part of my role as one of the vice chairpersons is to continue to ensure that the decision making of the HKIC is of the highest level possible, and to ensure that the decisions taken by the proceedings committee continue to be very reliable and of the highest quality, as I said.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I thank you, Nils, for your time this morning, but also for your steering the ship on the proceedings committee, because as you say, it's so important that decision making is of the highest quality. And I also confirm that Hong Kong and HKIC wants you. They both want you. So we hope that you stick around for a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a pleasure to speak to you this morning. Thank you.